Welcome, friends. My name is Toril. I am Genghis Khan's horse. I was not merely born, I was breathed into the world by wind and sky. My name means that which carries tradition, and that is exactly what my life became. I was not just the steed of a conqueror, I was a vessel of memory, a whisper of legacy pounding across the spine of a continent. I remember the day of my birth as if it still warms the dew under my hooves. The morning was sharp and blue, an infinite ceiling of cold sky stretched over the Mongolian steppe. The wind sang songs older than fire. My mother's breath steamed into the air as she leaned close to clean me. Her scent was my first idea of safety. Her heartbeat, the first song I ever learned. I stood quickly, wobbly at first, then bold. My first gallops were messy joys, tail flicking at clouds, legs unsure of their power. But the land accepted me. The steppe taught with silence and watched with stars. I chased the shadows of eagles overhead, believing I could catch the sky if I ran hard enough. I was foolish, and yet I was free. At night, the heavens opened. We horses do not read, but we remember. Each star was a footstep of one who came before. Warlords, shamans, wild stallions. I would lie beside my mother and stare upward until sleep claimed me, dreaming of those who rode the wind. I did not yet know that one day I would ride with them. One evening, under the full moon's silver eye, a vision came to me, not like a dream, but deeper. A rider stood silhouetted against the sky, his presence wrapped in stormlight. His name was soft on the wind, Temujin, a name whispered like prayer. I saw him, not as he was, but as he would become, fire-eyed, earthbound, thunder-breathed. One day, that man would change the world, and I would carry him to do it. From that day on, the wind spoke differently. I ran with more purpose, though I did not know why. I was still a foal, still chasing butterflies through grass and rolling beneath the spring rain. But something had shifted. Something ancient had seen me, chosen me. The games of youth would fade. The songs of the grass would be drowned by horns of the war. And my hooves, soft now, would one day strike thunder across empires. I sensed it before I saw him. The wind changed that morning. It didn't howl. It whispered. I stood still, hooves rooted in the dew-covered grass. The sky was pale, the horizon blurred with mist. A new vibration moved beneath my ribs. Not danger, not excitement. Something older. A man came from the far end of the camp. He smelled of iron, dust, and resolve. His steps didn't fight the earth. They flowed with it. He didn't rush. His silence said more than most riders' commands. I had never seen him before, and yet something in me bowed. He did not speak when he found me, just stared. I raised my head and met his gaze, and it pierced something in my chest. His eyes held storms and suns, memory and prophecy. He reached a hand toward me, then stopped, not to take, but to ask. The wind circled us, tugging at my mane, brushing against his face like a knowing spirit. Then, in a voice quiet and old, he said, "This one knows the wind." The next day, I was brought to his tent. He did not saddle me. He climbed onto my back as if returning to something forgotten. No reins, no whip, only balance, only breath. My legs did not buckle. My heart did not race. I carried him like I had been meant to all along. He was not yet Genghis Khan, but inside him, that future thundered like hooves over dry earth. Each morning, he watched the herd without a word. He memorized which horses bowed to wind and which turned to face it. He was not loud, but he was vast. His silence held space like sky. His shadow stretched before his name ever would. When we began training, it didn't feel new. It felt remembered. I wasn't learning. I was waking up. He wasn't preparing for conquest. He was building a world. In his rhythm, I found my role. Not servant, but sentence. He spoke, and I moved. He paused, and I waited. From that moment forward, I no longer ran like a horse. I moved like memory, and he became my first word. The morning was quieter than usual, but not in peace. The stillness carried weight. Men moved without looking at each other, tightening straps, whispering final thoughts into the sky. The wind didn't sing that day. It held its breath. When Temujin placed his hand on my back, I stilled. It was not fear. It was recognition. His armor was warm against my spine, but the scent of iron clung to him differently this time. Today would not be a ride. It would be a reckoning. The first drum beat cracked the silence. Then came the yell, the thunder of hooves, and the scream of metal. But before any of that, I felt the earth tremble. War does not fall from the sky. It rises. Arrows hissed overhead. We leaned, turned, breathed as one. Temujin shifted left. I followed without thought. We had never danced together before, but this chaos became our rhythm. Every step gained meaning when taken under death's shadow. A young warrior fell beside us. His horse slipped, sword flung wide. Our eyes met. No fear, just the question. Do I continue? Temujin reached down, lifted him back, and I understood. Victory wasn't just forged with weapons. It was also held together by hands. Blood has a smell. Not just metal, but something deeper. Warmth, finality. I smelled it and kept running. In war, every step is a choice, and I had become the weight behind his every choice. By dusk, the dust settled. My muscles did not ache, but my soul throbbed. I wasn't tired. I had transformed. I was no longer a colt of the plains. I was the memory of a people, moving on 4 legs. Victory leaves no songs in the wind, only silence in the soil. That morning, the sun rose over land we now claimed, and still, everything felt dim. The warriors stood, their swords high, their banners fluttering, but their eyes fell low. A battle had been won, but something else had been lost. We had conquered. Cities had fallen. The enemy fled. Temujin's flag now cast long shadows over foreign stone. But beside me, he wasn't there. Bakir, the colt I had grown beside, had run into the first arrows. I didn't see him fall, but I heard the ground cry when he did. A sound that never leaves. Losing a horse is like forgetting half your breath. You run, but the balance is gone. Temujin didn't speak that evening. He touched the soil beside his brother's body, and for the first time, I felt weight not from armor, but from grief. That day, I didn't carry a leader. I carried mourning. Even as the army roared in drunken celebration, I felt the ghost between us. Every hoofbeat homeward echoed like a name no one dared say aloud. Victory is deafening, but absence rings louder. I still gallop fast, but I no longer chase wind. I chase shadows. Each stride wears the names of those no longer beside us. Bakir, Chara, Aslan. Dust lifts where they once soared. Some nights I wake, breath shallow, heart burning. In dreams, we ride again, shoulder to shoulder, mists of war around us. Their voices call, hooves echo beside mine. I am alone, yet never alone, because victory fades, but loss stays. I am no longer just Temujin's horse. I am now the voice of the steppe. Riders have come and gone. Friends have become part of the soil. Banners have shifted in the wind. But the earth, she has never changed. The wind might wander, but it never forgets its direction. They thought horses were just running legs, but we are the keepers of what humans forget. Each of us carries a song in our hooves, a scream, a cheer, a farewell. The steppe gives birth to warriors, to poets, to promises, but most of all, she gives birth to silence, because the deepest stories never speak. They are carried by wind. I have known horses who longed for places they'd never seen. Some tracks are not on the land. They are carved inside us. Wheels have come, boots have passed, tents have risen and fallen. Each war brought a new sound. Each sound gave way to a new silence. I never tired of the smell of blood, but I miss the horses who stood beside me and didn't speak. We never talked, yet we always understood. Where there is no language, there is spirit. Some wars don't make heroes, they make witnesses. Temujin didn't just fight men, he fought shadows. He fought time. And I was not just his mount. I was the bearer of his thoughts. I carried his silence before I ever carried his weight. Time in the steppe isn't marked by clocks. It is measured in shadows, in stars, in stories never told. And I'm one of those stories. Each stride is an echo of the past. Each breath smells like the future. I no longer run alone. I move with history. I didn't carry him with my back. I carried him with my heart. As the years passed, Temujin became legend. They called him Genghis Khan, ruler of nations. But to me, he remained the man who once reached his hand toward me with the wind in his eyes. His name grew, but his soul always fit within the rhythm of my breath. The battles quieted, but the storm inside him never slept. He kept moving, not just through lands, but through thoughts. And always, I moved beside him. Because the deepest parts of a ruler are only heard by a horse. At night, he would sit by the fire, leaning into me. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I felt the weight on his shoulder, not of blood, but of decisions, of brothers buried, of promises made under stars. One day, without a word, he mounted me. We rode in silence toward the mountains. He never told me why, and I never asked. At the peak, he stopped, not to look out, but to look inward. I migrated with him. I fought with him. But above all, I was silent with him. True companionship is not measured by conversation. It's measured by those who can share stillness. They once bowed to me. The Emperor's spirit, they said. But I closed my eyes. Being a Khan is one thing. Carrying a Khan's soul is another. One day, he dismounted, never to rise again. But I still stood. My back was empty, but my spirit remained full. Because some journeys continue even after the rider is gone. Night fell, not from war, but from peace. The moon hung high. A gentle breeze stirred the last thread of my mane. I was no longer standing on a battlefield, nor perched on victory's edge. I had become a memory, one that still breathes, but slowly fades with grace. I no longer exist through hoofbeats, but through echoes. The lands I crossed now live not with my scent, but with what I left behind. Bakir's laughter still rides the wind. Temujin's breath still rests across my back. I am not a body anymore. I am a trace. And in silence, a trace speaks loudest. I thought of the battles, of flags raised, of brothers fallen. Victory took something from me. Loss gave something back. Understanding. Now, I carry meaning, not steel. The tents have been lifted. Empires collapsed. Languages shifted. But one thing remains. The posture of a horse looking skyward. Because stars only shine as long as someone remembers to look up. My eyes grew heavy, but this isn't sleep. This is a turning, a return to soil, a final blending with the wind. The burdens I carried my whole life now feel light, because shared memory becomes wing, not weight. If someday you hear hoofbeats in the wind, or a star seems to burn a little brighter, know that I'm passing by. No rider, no war, only a road stitched from memory, leading forever on.